One of the perks of living in Japan and being a huge weeb is that there is so much to do relating to nerdy hobbies. There's tons of pop-up stores, collab cafes, exhibitions, and plenty of merch to buy, but there's one problem. All of those things cost money, and I don't have a lot of money to go around. Sure, visiting the occasional exhibit or buying some merch here and there is fine, but when there's new events every week, your wallet starts to hurt real quickly. But there's one other thing you can do that doesn't quite cost as much, and it's my personal favorite to do as well. That is going to the real-life locations that inspired anime, games, or any pop culture really. Usually it'll only cost you a train fare, or if you're crazy enough to walk all the way like I am, it can even be free. Recently, I finally went to the real-life location behind my favorite film of all time. I've made a few videos on it in the past, but I am a huge fan of Studio Ghibli works. I've seen all the films, visited the park, been to the museum multiple times, and collected many art books. Hayao Miyazaki, Isao Takahata, and the dozens of artists who have worked there are some of my biggest inspirations, not only as just an artist and a storyteller, but also just for life in general. But despite Miyazaki being my favorite filmmaker of all time, my favorite film isn't actually one he's directed. Well, technically he did the storyboards for it, but regardless, my favorite film is Yoshifumi Kondo's Whisper of the Heart, or Mimi o Sumaseba as it's called in Japanese. Something about the slice of life premise, the portrayal of young artists, and the struggle of creativity all just resonates with me on a different level than anything else. And one thing in particular that makes the film feel really special and homey to me is the setting. It takes place in early 1990s Tama City, which is one of the cities within Tokyo Prefecture, west of the main city itself. It's named after the Tama River, which flows through it and makes up much of the border between Tokyo and Kanagawa, which, as a side note, is really nice to walk along no matter where you are. More specifically though, a lot of the scenery in the film has real-life counterparts in the area surrounding Seiseki Sakuragaoka Station, so that's where I went. One Wednesday, I caught the Keio line about 40 minutes out from Tokyo, and it was my first time visiting Tama. Western Tokyo and Kanagawa in general is one of my favorite places in Japan. It still has the urban Tokyo feel whilst also being quieter, more spacious, and having more nature. It feels more balanced and a bit slower paced, which I really like. Now, it's been 30 years since the film came out, so you'd think it wouldn't resemble the shots too well anymore, but a lot of what was used for inspiration is still intact. Starting at the train station, the jingle that plays whenever a train is departing is, of course, Country Roads from the film. Following that, just the outside area of the station appears in the film, and if you keep following the main road, you'll eventually reach the winding Irohazaki Dori, which goes up a hill. You may remember this road as it appears many times in the film, especially right at the end. From there, you can see a lovely lookout over the city. It's changed a lot over the years, but it still does look a bit like it does in the film. If you keep climbing the hill, you'll come across the stairway that Shizuku runs down as she imagines her story after visiting the gift shop. This is one of my favorite shots in the whole film, and I'm glad to see the stairs are just as tall in real life. And literally right next to them is Kompiragu Shrine, which is the inspiration behind the shrine where Shizuku gets confessed to. In the film, I thought it was more in like a forested grove, but it's actually on top of the hill right next to the super steep staircase. It's actually a bit surprising. If you keep going down the road past some nice houses, you'll come across the iconic roundabout from the film. It's a bit denser with more trees in real life, and unfortunately, the gift shop isn't actually there. But there is a small cafe with Whisper of the Heart memorabilia at the front, including a life-size plush of Moon. I never realized it before, but this was actually my first time ever seeing a roundabout in Japan. They're quite rare, especially compared to Australia, but apparently this is one of the very few in all of Tokyo. I sat in the park here and ate some baked goods I got from the train station earlier. Another thing that I noticed was that there was also manhole covers featuring Rascal the Raccoon, which is another classic popular anime in Japan. I was wondering why, and it turns out it's actually because Tama City is home to Nippon Animation headquarters. Now, they're actually the studio behind Rascal the Raccoon, as well as Chibi Maruko-chan, which is another really popular anime here in Japan. And many Ghibli staff actually directly worked with Nippon Animation, including Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata. Another cool thing you'll learn just by exploring Japan is such a rich history for animation here. And whilst all these things here aren't the biggest, most grandest, exciting things, or even really that touristy, they're at least kind of promoted by the city themselves a little bit, and they take pride in that, and I find that to be common all over Japan. It's just a small thing, but I come from a country that has very little in the way of cultural relevance, or cultural export. And even when we do have things, they're rarely celebrated. It's only recent that something as big as Bluey has actually been celebrated within Australia, Like, the city I used to live in has a lot of bluey memorabilia all around the city now, and that does make me quite happy. It always warms my heart a bunch whenever I see locations in Japan embrace and celebrate the stories that came from them, or took inspiration from them. They really take pride in the art that was made here, and the people that came from them. And you'll find this all across the country, not just in busy popular areas like Tokyo. You can go as far as Hamanaka in Hokkaido, super rural and remote, and there's a whole town themed around Lupin III because Monkey Punch was from there. You can really go anywhere in Japan and you can find something celebrating the arts, the culture, the history, and the people behind them in Japan. It's something that I really truly love about the country here. Okay, now on to the time-lapse of the actual drawing. So I always see a lot of people do journal sketches, or like travel journal sketches, more specifically, and I've always wanted to do one, so I thought I would do one for this little day trip to Tama, since it's a place I've been wanting to go to for so long. Usually people will put like things they did or ate on the side, little objects and stuff like that, but for me it was mainly locations that I wanted to talk about, and that were the highlight for me. And they're kind of hard to draw, like just floating in space, so I did them in little kind of boxes like a comic panel, and I thought that was pretty fun. Now, backgrounds are kind of a weak point for me just because I don't do a lot of them, and I wanted to recreate that kind of shot from the film where Shizuku's running down the stairs as the centerpiece, and it has a bit of a weird perspective, so I tried just freeballing it, and I'm actually quite happy with how it turned out. The hardest thing for me was probably the colors overall, but I still am pretty happy with how it turned out in general. I do need more practice of backgrounds, and I do want to do a full video deep diving into study for backgrounds, but that will be something in the future hopefully. But yeah, I really loved visiting Tama, and I'd love to do similar things for other areas in Tokyo and Japan in general, but I want to practice doing this more. It's really fun. So if people are interested in seeing that, then I would definitely be down to do more of them, and just more art videos in general. I tried doing some shading here, but I need to do more actual study and practice of shading because it did turn out a bit tricky and not quite how I liked it. But yeah, that's the final thing here. And I hope you all enjoyed this little video. It's a bit different, but I wanted to experiment with something else and lean more into the art side of videos and progress and my art journey here in Japan. So yeah, thank you for watching, and yeah, bye.